All right, welcome in, everybody.
Hola.
It is 7 o'clock, which means Borussia Dortmund and Monterrey. Yeah.
Figured we would get a reaction from the
I knew
crowd
this was going to be our table over here. 2 hours away, Club World Cup.
There we
This is
go.
the last match of the round of 16. We are, if you just stumbled in here, we are Scarves and Spikes. We are a mostly Atlanta United soccer podcast, covering pretty much soccer in Atlanta and all around Atlanta. So now that the Club World Cup is here, naturally, that is what we're covering.
Yep.
Big shout out real quick to the Nest on 4 Bar for hosting all of these. We've done a ton of these shows. We'll continue to do a ton of them, but they are amazing hosts. So big shout out to them. Go order you a drink if you haven't already. And we'll probably be doing a giveaway for a shot or something here in a little bit, but we're going to talk some footy. Sydney?
Yes, we are. It sounds dangerous, by the way.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But hey, it's the first like really properly timed game here at the stadium, I feel like.
At 9 o'clock, if you want to call 9 o'clock properly timed.
It's better than 3 o'clock on a Monday.
Just kind of a disclaimer. So I just saw the tweet that Mercedes-Benz Stadium put out. The area is under severe thunderstorm warning, so maybe if you're watching on the way to the stadium, or if you know somebody that is at the stadium right now or on the way to the stadium, maybe give them a heads up. They're under severe thunderstorm warning protocol at the stadium, so just be mindful of that. Be careful on your way in. Be safe as you drive in. But yeah, Tyler, pretty good crowd here at the Nest on 4 Bar inside Signia by Hilton, Atlanta. A lot of Monterrey fans I see. I didn't see a ton of Borussia Dortmund fans.
Let's see. Do we have any Borussia Dortmund fans in here at all?
That's what I thought.
I didn't think so. All right, where are my Monterrey fans
Monterrey.
at? Monterrey? Come on.
Oh, they're eating. They're eating.
This one table, and there's a bunch at the bar. I see the kids everywhere.
Yeah. See a Mexican flag. Yes. I imagine that. So I tweeted this out earlier, but every time a Mexican team has played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, fans have turned out pretty well. Cruz Azul in Leagues Cup, Club America in Campeones Cup a few years back. Obviously forgetting a few, but every time, Pachuca. Every time a Mexican team plays, you definitely know the fans are there. And I imagine tonight, if preliminary. Based on what I've seen so far, I was telling you on the way in, I only saw a couple of Borussia Dortmund fans and none of Monterrey fans. So if that tells the story, I imagine that Monterrey fans will outdraw Borussia Dortmund fans pretty well today at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, this is going to be a Monterrey home match for all intents and purposes. Yeah. I'm curious what the actual attendance will look like overall, but at the end of the day, whatever the attendance is, I think you can probably make it a full-on 80-20 split in favor of Monterrey?
For sure, if that. By the way, the crowd, not a big crowd right now. I mean, it's only still an hour and 55 minutes till kickoff, as you can see on the screen there if you're watching online. But about an hour and 55 minutes till kickoff. I imagine things will kind of fill up. People are still kind of getting out of work, maybe traffic on the roads, the weather, as we mentioned, a little bit of a factor. The roof will be closed, I'm sure, tonight.
I would hope so.
I would imagine. But yeah, sort of the factors going on right now early on. Obviously, it's an indoor match, so we don't have to worry about any delays or anything like that. But yeah, should be a fun one. Borussia Dortmund and Monterrey.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one because I think both teams are. I mean, you look at the records over the past, let's say 10 matches. I actually think Monterrey is unbeaten in 10 matches. I'm sorry, Borussia Dortmund. But I think if you were to ask both teams, they'd probably tell you they're not playing maybe to their standard.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more left on the table in some of these matches. So I think this one's going to be one, take away the fact that it's a knockout match, but I think both teams have something to prove. And it should be, if you're a neutral, a really entertaining match, I feel.
Who has more to prove, do you think? Is it Monterrey or Borussia Dortmund?
What's that?
Who has more to prove, Dortmund or Monterrey?
I kind of feel like Dortmund does because to me, they haven't been convincing in this tournament yet at all.
Yeah.
I think they've just kind of floated through. And I mean, take away the different results only because the group stage of this tournament had so many teams that on paper should have been a walk for a lot of teams. So you can't necessarily look at the entire group and say, well, they beasted that group, because almost every group had at least one team that maybe, was kind of the one that you expected to get knocked out. So, I mean, I think Dortmund, though, being one of the powerhouses in Germany, they're absolutely going to want to come in here because they see what their brother Bayern Munich did, and they're going to want to match that.
Yeah, if you're Dortmund, I imagine the feeling is, and no disrespect to Liga MX, but if you're a big club like Dortmund is, and certainly Monterrey is a big club as well, but if you're Dortmund, you don't want to go in, or you don't want to come out this match saying that we lost to a quote-unquote inferior league. Of course, Liga MX would argue against the inferiority. But
these fans, all these folks are they're gonna look at this and say, you know what, let's walk the Bundesliga. It doesn't matter, Big Five, screw that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's lots to play for, and I say, like, I answered that question, but anytime you have a Liga MX side that's playing, there's pride. There's massive pride involved, and I mean, you've seen some clubs in like the Argentine League, River Plate, Boca, both knocked out. You've seen some Liga MX sides knocked out. All the MLS teams are out. So I think from the CONCACAF region, though, from North America, Central America, the Caribbean, I think it's one of those where it's like, hey, we're one of the last few standing, so let's go show what we're about.
Yeah, and this is a tournament that has seen some surprises. Certainly, the biggest surprise of the tournament is Manchester City losing to Al Ain last night, 4-3. Really against the grain. Nobody expected that, but Man City are out of the tournament. They have crashed out in the round of 16, so Al Ain are in the quarterfinal. The winner of this one between Dortmund.
Al Hilal.
Say it again.
That was Al Hilal.
But the winner of this one, Dortmund Monterrey, will play Real Madrid. Real Madrid, not much of a surprise, winning 1-0. Maybe the scoreline flatters their opponent just a little bit, but if you're Real Madrid, I guess who do you prefer between these two teams? I'm sure if you ask them, they're going to say, you know what, we want to play whoever. We want to win this tournament. Deep down inside, if you're a Real Madrid supporter, who would you prefer between the two?
Honestly, I would prefer Borussia Dortmund because I think you have a little bit more of a sample size being from Europe. You know what they're going to want to do.
Yeah.
You've obviously seen them many more times than you've ever seen Monterrey.
Yeah.
But I think Monterrey is going to bring chaos in whatever game they play, whether it's this one tonight, if they make it out and they play Madrid in a few days, they're going to bring the heat.
Yep.
And look, Madrid's Madrid. They're going to get theirs always. But I think this Madrid side has shown some weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And I think a team that plays the chaotic way that Monterrey plays, I think that they might have an opportunity against them.
Does that mean that they fancy their chances more against Dortmund or rather than they do Monterrey, or is it just that feeling of familiarity with it being a European opponent?
I think a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, I think anytime you're familiar with a team, you kind of at least know whether the coach has changed, players have changed. That typically, especially teams in Europe that are old, they have a methodology, they have an identity that they want to keep. You kind of know what you're getting, right? But then when you look at a team like Monterrey, again, not a team that Madrid's going to be exceptionally familiar with, but also a team that, look, we talk about CONCACAF all the time.
Yeah.
And we talk about how crazy CONCACAF can be. I would love to see some of the dark arts from – thank you.
We'll see.
From Monterrey against the legends Real Madrid. I would love to see that matchup.
I think so I'm going to kind of push back. I feel like Real Madrid, out of the two teams that are playing tonight, I feel like they would fancy their chances more against Monterrey. So I think deep down inside, if you're a Real Madrid fan, you will say, hey, bring on Monterrey. That being said, I feel like maybe if you stack the two teams against each other, whether it be Dortmund or that be Monterrey, I feel like Real Madrid would be a favorite against either one of them. That being said, like I said earlier, this has been a tournament that has given us some surprises over the past few matches, especially in the knockout stages. So Man City going out is a clear path for pretty much a number of teams, any number of teams in this tournament. Certainly a club like Dortmund, if they win tonight, Monterrey, can they kind of be that dark horse that gets to the final? on this side of the bracket. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at, so yeah, like you said earlier, Madrid 1-0 over Juve. Yesterday, Fluminense knocking out Inter, and then the big one, like you said, Al Hilal over Man City 4-3.
Yeah, I said Al Ain. I meant Al Hilal.
Yeah. But I think it's a big deal when you look at kind of what has been said about the Saudi League and kind of the discourse around it and everything else. At the end of the day, they have really good players on a lot of those teams.
Yeah.
And they're not here for no reason. I just think it's how well-rounded those teams are. And I've seen people already saying like, oh, Cristiano Ronaldo was right when he said that the Saudi League is one of the top 5 in the world. No, we're not there yet. Sorry, right. Ronaldo, you're wrong. Down. Yeah, let's pump the brakes a little bit. But at the end of the day, like, this is a tournament where the term any given Sunday can
or Tuesday.
Absolutely, yeah, or Tuesday can absolutely mean something. And so, I mean, look, you knocked out a giant, and that right there should be plenty to celebrate for.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him. And any day that Man City loses is a good day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, neutrals, kind of saw that with glee, or took glee in the fact that they lost because they're the big back team in the Premier League. They have the fair play allegations against them. So, we'll I'm sure there are some people celebrating like you, Man City. Dan saying in the chat, Dan, good to see you as always. Sergio Ramos facing Madrid would be nice. Of course, that's one of the big names tonight, Sergio Ramos, a player whose reputation certainly precedes one of the greatest players of all time. A player that will
never heard of him.
Let's say that again.
Never heard of him.
Right. No, but a player who will be certainly in the middle of things for Monterrey, and that's going to be obviously the big challenge for Monterrey, for Borussia Dortmund. Can they deal with a player like Sergio Ramos pulling up the lineups at this time? And it looks like they aren't out quite yet, obviously, because it's still a couple of hours toward kickoff. But he's the one that you have to look out for if you're Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he, especially in the earlier matches, he got this team to where they're at now. And again, it's not been convincing as a team, but neither has Dortmund, in my opinion. I think this team right now, though, at least in this match, is going to live or die by Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that because on his day, he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he's, I think, 39 now?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Older than us.
Yeah.
Well, older than you.
Older than me, for sure. Yeah.
I'm thinking like he's younger than me, but I couldn't run half a mile without probably passing out. He runs like how many miles a match at 39 years old.
He's still kicking along. I mean, and you look at the first goal that he scored in this tournament, it was a header. You know, for him to get up and above some of the defenders that you're seeing in this tournament is impressive.
Yeah.
It's been very impressive.
No, certainly. So he's certainly one of the many names of Monterrey to look out for Tommy Torrent's team. Tecatito, Jesus Corona is another player to watch out for if you're Dortmund.
Yeah, and I think, again, this is where what I was saying earlier about Dortmund is not going to be able to control this game, in my opinion, the way that they've been playing, the way that they want to against Monterrey.
Yeah.
And it starts from the back, right? It's going to start with how Monterrey plays. And I use the term chaos, and I'm going to keep using it because to me, that's what they are. Take away the CONCACAF kind of, dark arts part of it. But they're a good team that when they're thriving, it's because they're free flowing. They're playing with lots of energy. They're playing on the front foot. Dortmund, on the other end, is going to want to try to control the ball. They're going to want to possess the ball and slow things down. And I think that's where you're going to see the chess match inside the Benz here in an hour and a half.
Or more.
Yeah. I think and I absolutely think in this match too, you see with a lot of these big European clubs, the subs aren't as big of a factor because most of those teams, you look at Man City, which didn't work last night, but Madrid, a lot of these, look, you had Kylian Mbappe coming off the bench in the 60th minute earlier today for Madrid.
Nice. It must be nice.
I know, right? But they have this luxury of it doesn't necessarily matter against a lot of teams who they field for the starting 11 because they have backups to backups.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily going to be the case tonight. I think this is going to be a tale of two halves. It's going to be whoever comes out on the front foot from the opening whistle, and then whatever minor tweaks get changed, whether it's a halftime, 60th minute, 70th minute. I think that's going to be where this gets very, very interesting.
Now, let me ask you this. Do we see a resolution of this match in normal time, or do we go to extra time or penalties?
Let's see. You asked me this 2 days ago, and I was like,
4-0.
Yeah, it was, I think this one goes extra.
I agree.
I think it goes extra.
I can see that.
And I'm here for it.
Do we get a win? Do we get a?
I think it's going to go to penalties.
Or penalties?
I'm here for the penalty shootout.
It would figure the 9 o'clock match goes to penalties.
I know, right?
We're here until what, like 11, 11:30.
Well, see, it would normally end at 11:15.
Yeah.
If it goes to penalties, we're talking about probably 12:15 minimum.
Right. It has started raining pretty hard outside. I don't know if y'all can see it on the camera, but sorry, there's something in the way.
It's coming down.
If you're watching in the stream, it is pouring rain. So again, if you're watching at home, if you have people that are going out to the stadium, if you know anybody that's maybe on the way here to Mercedes-Benz Stadium or the immediate area, be mindful, be careful on the roads. Take your time.
Yes, please.
Don't rush. Don't rush to get here.
You've got plenty of time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
I guess this would be the perfect time then, really quick, to take a quick hiatus, considering the rain, considering people trickling in. Who wants a shot? Who wants some alcohol?
That's a loaded question.
I know, right? People turning this way and looking.
21 and older only.
What's that?
21 and older only.
Yeah, 21 and older only. We did have a winner last time that was 12, I think. We had to get him like a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
My Monterrey fans here. Yes.
Are you guys from Atlanta?
From Atlanta?
No. Where are you from? Where are you from? Monterrey. Monterrey. When did you arrive? When did you get to Atlanta?
Today.
See?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
You want?
Yeah,
there we go. Hey, get your folks over here. We're gonna give away. I'm gonna do some trivia and give away a drink. If you want to let them know.
See.
All right.
You have a trivia question.
Yes. So, all right, trivia question. And again, some people here for soccer, some not. It is what it is. This is open for anybody that wants to bust out their phone and Google this question and win a shot of your choice. The question is, and again, Google is your friend.
Yes.
Besides Monterrey, who is the other Liga MX side that has won the treble?
Uh-oh.
Besides Monterrey, who is the other Liga MX side that has won the treble? And if you got the answer, just come up here.
Need to.
Yeah, look it up. Google it.
The answer surprised me.
I know that it was not who I expected, actually.
Yes.
I'm going to give some people a minute to Google and figure it out, because this is a little tougher of one.
Yeah.
While we do that, jump to the next thing. I guess from a broad perspective, is there anything about this game that you expect to be maybe different than some of the prior matches here at the Benz? Anything about it that's just maybe gonna be a different atmosphere?
More competitive.
More competitive. Last one was not competitive at all.
So I feel like, there is, and I said this before, I feel like Inter Miami, even though the golf in class was certainly noticeable between them and PSG, I feel like they would have wanted to give a better account of themselves than they did, just on the global stage, if nothing more than the fact that they have Messi, Suarez, Alba, Busquets, those guys. I think the sum was certainly less than what they would have expected, what they would have thought. So I think this match will be much more competitive because if you're Monterrey, I mean, you're looking at this as, we have nothing to lose. So pretty much throwing everything at this team. Don't forget, though, that Dominic Torrent is a product of Man City. So he knows the style of football that is prevalent in Europe. I mean, I'm sure he knows about Borussia Dortmund, having played them in the past, or certainly played against them in the past. So, I mean, that's probably your X factor.
It was.
We have a winner, Cruz Azul.
You're the
Congratulations.
man. Congratulations. What kind of shot? What kind of alcohol do you prefer? Surprise you.
Anything.
All right, I'll surprise you. Thanks,
Anything.
man. Yeah, the answer to the trivia question was Cruz Azul. So there you go.
But yeah, just continuing my point, I feel like that's sort of the wrinkle to this match that maybe a few people are talking about that you would expect. Torrent's experience in European football, started with Man City. Who knows? That could be one of the wrinkles that maybe have a deciding factor in this match for Monterrey.
Yeah, and I think kind of when you look at, I guess what excites me most about this match, when you look at both of these teams, it's that classic like Central and South American style versus that classic European style. Borussia Dortmund has been doing basically the same thing for 100 years, and that's not a knock on Borussia Dortmund because they've been successful. They do very well at it. That's their game. Monterrey, on the other hand, plays a very, kind of Latin American, South American type of soccer, and it's much more fast paced.
Yeah.
It's something that Atlanta United fans would be very, very similar to from the early years, anyway. And I just think it's a clash of two different types. Now,
right,
for Borussia Dortmund, it's going to come down to can they control the ball well enough to actually make any progress anywhere on the pitch, because Monterrey is going to make it very difficult.
Yeah.
And I fully expect, like I said, Monterrey to come out in this one, and that especially the first 45 for them to be off the chain.
Yeah. Who do you think scores first in this match? Monterrey or Dortmund?
Monterrey. It popped in my head. Monterrey. I think Monterrey. I'm going to say the 27th minute.
Very precise. No, I think if you're Monterrey, if you could get that first goal, you could certainly really dictate the tempo of the match and really force Borussia Dortmund to, kind of play the style of football that Monterrey prefers. You obviously have to chase the game. It's knockout football. There's no tomorrow if you lose. So I feel like if Monterrey gets that first goal, that'll certainly favor them much more than it would Borussia Dortmund in that situation. Now, if Borussia Dortmund get the first goal, I just don't know. I don't know if Monterrey can cope with that. They might, especially later in the match if they really have to push for a goal. They could do well to force force extra time, and then essentially it's basically, for all intents and purposes, sort of a whole new match. Yeah, certainly substitutes you can bring in from the bench like you're just talking about, but I feel like that first goal is going to be very key to set the tone for this match.
Yeah, the worst thing that Borussia Dortmund could do if they score first is then let off the gas.
Yeah.
Because against a team like Monterrey, you're not going to be able to hold it for that. Now, look, if it's the 80th minute and it's 1-0 and it's in Dortmund's favor at that point, then you got to do what you got to do. But if you snag a goal early, you cannot go 60 minutes, 70 minutes against a side like Monterrey and expect to just hold it down that entire time. Exactly.
You have to, like you said, keep your foot on the gas pedal. You can't let up. Stop raining. Stop pouring.
Finally stopped. Yeah. Now it's going to be nice and humid outside for our walk over to the bins in a little bit.
Fun. Good thing we be indoors with the AC and all that. But just looking outside right now, like I said, it's a late match, 9 p.m. match. So gates are open at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Sort of a trickle of fans making their way into the stadium right now. Imagine around 8 o'clock when you get out of here with this stream, they'll kind of pick up certainly. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah, and despite the not so wonderful weather outside, you still see people trickling around. There's still tons of Monterrey jerseys out there. Yeah. The rain, it's definitely not swaying too many people away. Yeah. And let's see, it's It looks like maybe they've opened the gates a little early, probably due to the weather. So, but yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, looking over there, this is going to be a Monterrey home match for all intents and purposes.
I was going to say, I'm not seeing a lot of black and yellow out there, to be honest with you. So I imagine Monterrey fans are going to be nice and loud all match long.
So we'll jump back and forth to this match, but we do have one other match here at the Benz coming up. And we'll be doing a live show for that as well, by the way.
11:05 Saturday.
Yeah, 11:05 Saturday. But take us through kind of what you expect out of that one, because I am super excited about who is playing.
That's going to be a magnificent match because you have really two of the best teams in Europe in PSG.
Yep.
PSG, of course, Champions League holders, and then Bayern Munich, who is certainly the most dominant team in Germany by a long shot. So a titanic matchup at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I feel like you can't really – PSG may have the edge in this one, but I think realistically it'll be tough to put anything between the two sides. I think that certainly could go extra time, penalties. It's going to be tense. It's going to be rough for both teams as, again, there's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow if you lose.
I agree.
That's it. So –
like you said, this is two massive opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Bayern Munich is you can't count them out ever. If you've ever been to the Allianz in Munich and seen their trophy room, they don't have it that big for no reason.
Yeah.
That thing is huge.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get this gentleman his shot. But
all right.
Yeah, we'll keep diving into that.
Keep talking. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be massive match for both teams involved, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than maybe a lot of people realize. But if you look at one of the players that has really made a difference in this tournament is João Neves, who had the brace in the first half against Inter Miami. So another really talented young player out of PSG who has really affected this tournament.
Yeah, and I think one thing about him and just the entire team that kind of strikes me like about one of the questions that we were talking about a minute ago when it came to what team is going to want this more.
Yeah.
PSG, when they beat Miami a couple of days ago, 4-0, stomped them.
Yeah.
They were going on literally 365 days of playing soccer since their preseason last year.
Wow.
They've not stopped.
Wow.
And they go out, what was it, a month and a half ago? They won the Champions League.
Yeah.
Then they come here. They're running all over people.
Yeah.
I think this game tonight is going to be a perfect example, despite everything we've said, of just who wants it more. Like PSG is not taking this tournament like it's nothing. They're taking this very seriously.
Let me ask you this. The winner between PSG and Bayern Munich on Saturday, do you think they go on to win the tournament?
I do.
Whoever wins that match is going to win?
I do.
I would have
certainly so. I want to look at the other side of the bracket,
yeah,
but I think
so. Right now. I'm just pulling it right now, but I would certainly fancy the chances whoever wins between PSG and Bayern Munich. I'd be very surprised.
No, I will say I can't count out Fluminense.
Fluminense?
Yeah, I think they've been something special.
Yeah, they have. But let's take a look at the bracket right now. Of course, PSG, Bayern Munich, whoever wins that match takes on the winner of Real Madrid and the winner of tonight's match, whether that be Dortmund and Monterrey. And then on the other side of the bracket, Fluminense Hilal, who, of course, brought that shock defeat of Man City, and the Palmeiras Chelsea. I feel like Chelsea you can't really count out at this point. But, yeah, I am going to go on record and saying whoever wins on Saturday between PSG and Bayern Munich could win the tournament. Of course, Real Madrid is there as well.
Hard to count out.
Yeah, so we'll see, but I think whoever wins will go on.
Yeah, I think so. I think that group, well, the group at this point, not a group, but that bracket, I agree. I think the winner of that. But I will say, you've got Palmeiras and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea's not been convincing to me since the first match here for this Club World Cup. Chelsea, they were not convincing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They just didn't do it for me when they played LAFC. And then since then, besides that, Fluminense playing Al Hilal. Now, I know we said the same thing the other day about them playing Man City. I don't know that they can capture that lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So let's go to the quarterfinal matches. So far, Palmeiras versus Chelsea. Who do you have winning that one?
Palmeiras.
I'm going to go Chelsea. I'm going to
Okay.
go Chelsea winning that one. Fluminense versus Al Hilal. Certainly the quarterfinal we didn't see coming. Who wins?
Fluminense.
I'll go Fluminense as well. PSG Bayern Munich.
Oh, this is the hard
I'm
one.
going to say
man.
PSG.
I'm going to not say PSG. I'm going to say Bayern Munich, and this is my heart talking and not my brain talking because I am a Bayern Munich fan, and this will be the first time that I will have gotten to see them in person. Even though I went to their stadium a couple of years ago, this will be the first time, and I want to see them win. So I'm going to go with Bayern Munich.
We shall see. And then Real Madrid and the winner of tonight's match. I'm going to say Real.
Yeah, I don't think,
regardless of the opponent.
No offense, but I don't think either one of these teams is going to handle Madrid. I think they'll give them a run for the money. I don't think it's going to be like a dog walk like we saw PSG and Inter Miami or some of these other matches. But I do think Real Madrid's just class. And now that you've got Kylian Mbappe back healthy, he came on today. It's really hard to count them out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go.
But some really intriguing matches or potential matches on this side of the bracket. That's no offense to the other side of the bracket, the other half, but I feel like the weight of the tournament is really on this side of the bracket, and it's going to be a fun next few days, I think, for the Club World Cup.
And it's that point of the tournament, too. You know, the soccer tournament, month-long kind of situation. You see it in the World Cup. You see it in so many other tournaments. But this is that point where, like, the go part starts to slow down, right? Like, it's not games every day. After this, you got a little bit of a break.
Now, I'll throw this out there, too, for PSG. I mentioned this the other day. Bayern Munich or PSG, maybe the benefit that they have over Bayern Munich, another benefit is travel. PSG haven't had to go anywhere. They've been able to stay here in the Atlanta area. Bayern Munich, they've had to travel from South Florida. It's not the worst trip in the world. It's not like miles and miles and miles, but still it's travel. You have to get on a plane and fly into Atlanta.
You know, interestingly, and this is going to be geography in my head.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that flight from South Florida to Atlanta would be pretty close to essentially what they would do if it were Munich and
that's true.
And I don't want to say Dortmund, maybe, but any of the Berlin teams would be pretty close.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. In the U.S., that's a short flight.
Yeah.
In Europe, that is like the longest you're going to travel for a domestic match.
Yeah. I think
that's interesting.
That just speaks to the breadth of the United States.
Yeah.
Like it's not like England where you gotta hop on a bus and be like at one of any of maybe like 10 Premier League teams in like the span of 3 or 4 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
But
So I guess jumping back to tonight. All right, we've got two totally opposite styles of football.
Yes.
And we'll hit on the chat if there's anything in the chat. Two opposite styles of football. I've said over and over again about how I think the chaotic kind of fast-paced nature of Monterrey is going to be what does it for them. But you haven't said too much about what you feel opinion-wise on how this one plays out.
Well, I feel like I kind of mentioned, I feel like this is destined for extra time. I do feel like that Dortmund have the advantage in this one over Monterrey, but I think I feel like it's gonna come down to defense. Which defense can be up to the task. Dan saying in the chat, Dortmund had a really bad season in 2024, 2025. So if you look at the Bundesliga standings and see how that played out, of course, my phone's not working.
I mean, relatively speaking,
Bayern Munich won the league, of course. Dortmund finished fourth, but they were 25 points out of first place.
I think because they were behind, let's see, it was Munich and then what, Leverkusen, who won it the
Munich,
year before.
Leverkusen, and then Eintracht Frankfurt, really surprised in top four, and then Dortmund, and then Freiburg finishing 2 points behind them.
Yeah.
So by Dortmund standards, that's disappointing. Yeah. It's very disappointing. Only 57 points from 34 matches. So they're going to come into this match saying, hey, look, our season in the German league was very disappointing, and that's going to really drive them, I feel like, to take care of business against Monterrey. Now, that being said, if you're Dortmund, you can't just think you're just going to coast to victory. I think Monterrey certainly has talent. They certainly have class in their own ranks. Talked about Ramos, talked about Tecatito, players like that. But I think it's going to be kind of a tug of war between two differing styles, like you mentioned. You can certainly follow Bundesliga more than I do, so you're certainly more in tune with the style of play that Dortmund prefers. That being said, I think it's going to be a tug of war between two teams who realize, hey, tonight there's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. And again, I feel like penalties. I have a feeling that penalties are going to be on the menu this evening.
No, I don't disagree, and I think I was looking one other stat up while you were talking, but I think at the end of the day, one of the things that's going to be very interesting about Dortmund is they haven't had a goal scorer, a consistent goal scorer, in a couple of seasons. You know who the last consistent goal scorer they had was?
Gio Reyna?
No, it wasn't Gio Reyna. Erling Haaland.
Haaland.
He left to go to Man City. I heard of that guy, even though he's not in the tournament anymore. But he was that guy, right? I mean, he's been that guy everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
But he left, went to Man City, and since then Dortmund has just not. They haven't had that edge. The rest of the team is built very well. They just haven't had the finisher.
Here's a stat though that surprised me. You know how many goals they allowed this past season, Dortmund?
I'll go with 45.
20.
Oh, okay.
20 goals in 34 matches.
Wow.
So that defense
which goes back to what I was saying about them
suffocating.
controlling games.
Uh-huh. So I think they're going to be looking for
intriguing.
They're going to be looking for the same thing tonight. Stifle Monterrey. Make Monterrey beat your defense, because it doesn't allow a lot. Not a lot gets through them, and I think that puts a lot of the pressure on Monterrey to get an early goal and take advantage of the match early on.
Yeah, I think one other name that even if you're not a Dortmund fan, you might recognize. Maybe you recognize the last name is Bellingham. Obviously, Jude plays for Real Madrid now, but his little brother, Job.
Could we see a Bellingham?
Hey, that would be cool. Or
Bellingham.
Bellingham. If I'm not mistaken, you can fact check me. Somebody in the chat, I'm sure, will fact check me. I think Job has actually been their leading goal scorer in this tournament so far.
I think you're right. I think I did see that.
Maybe it runs in the blood. I don't know, but I think just the talent that those two have in general. And Job hasn't really had the opportunity to kind of prove himself on the world stage like his older brother has.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's there, right? Like, you see the talent when they play. And again, I talk about a finisher, a striker, a guy that's going to go and be the one scoring the majority of your goals. Job is more of an attacking midfielder, very forward-facing attacking midfielder, but he's not going to be the one that needs to be putting the ball in the back of the net all the time. Think back to Atlanta United when Thiago Almada was here, or any team that Lionel Messi's on. I mean, Lionel Messi's going to get his no matter what.
Sure.
But you're attacking midfielder. That is not the main job. That is a job, but it's being a playmaker. If Job, in this situation tonight, if he does start, can get involved, then I think that makes it much more difficult for Monterrey to try to find a rhythm and be that chaotic team that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is his first big action with Dortmund. Of course, played with Sunderland in the championship and want to move to Dortmund. So it speaks to the quality of play he was. Even the championship, it speaks to what Dortmund saw in him, even for a player playing in the second division, saying, hey, we need this kid. So this is his first action, his first impression. So far, so good. He's been one of their top players at the tournament so far. So if you're Dortmund, you're thinking, hey, we're expecting a lot from this kid in 2025, 2026, and beyond. And if you're the English national team, if you're Thomas Tuchel, you're looking at him saying, hey, this is a guy that we can certainly look to bring in the World Cup next year.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things where the other brother, whether it's older or younger, is always going to have that shadow to kind of play out of. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
In this case, I think if you look at Jude Bellingham and kind of the way that he carries himself and how the tenacity that he shows,
Sure.
if his brother has any fraction of that, then just about any team will be pushing to have him on it, including the national team. Now, is he going to hop in and start in the World Cup next year? Probably not.
Yeah.
But you start looking at maybe the fringe player that's working his way in, and then come 2030, we're having a different conversation.
Yep. No, that's for sure. For sure. And again, certainly after a good start for Borussia Dortmund. Good first impression for his new team. We haven't talked about, we talked about just briefly, but we haven't talked a lot about Gio Reyna. we kind of joked about him earlier, but how do you figure Gio Reyna will be in this match? He's kind of been the odd man out in the U.S. men's national team picture. I'm sure he'll be looking to get back to the World Cup or get to the World Cup next year with the United States men's national team, but sort of a pariah under Greg Berhalter. We won't go into the backstory. We all know how that turned out, but
just a little bit of drama.
Maybe a little bit of a redemption story with the world watching, you think, tonight?
I think you're literally in U.S. soccer's new backyard.
Yeah.
This would be the perfect place to show out.
Yeah.
You got to imagine that no matter what U.S. soccer is paying attention to when it comes to this tournament, if it's a game in their backyard, they're probably going to be looking at this place and any team that's here. And yeah, like you said, Gio Reyna is one of those guys that he's got talent if he can get his head out of his rear end. That's
for sure.
The thing. It's just like, if you would just focus, if you would just lock in, you would be one of the most talented players on the men's national team roster and whatever team you happen to be playing at. But it's just, God, he unfortunately sometimes gives off that spoiled kid kind of vibe. And I hate that because he's super talented. But this is a chance for him to come out and there's already been talk about him leaving, and moving on to another team and another team. Again, yeah. Lock in, Gio. Lock in. Show us what you're about.
And you talk about, playing in somebody's shadow, of course. The comparison will always be between him and his father. He's one of the top players in U.S. men's national team history. So can he kind of I don't know if there's a sense of entitlement maybe for him saying, hey, I'm Claudio Reyna's kid, and my reputation is going to be based on that. But I feel like it's kind of the case with him. And of course, we won't get into all the drama between him and Berhalter and all of that. But obviously, that's not a good look for either side, certainly for the Reyna family. But yeah, maybe a match like this certainly favors him to come in and take advantage. I remember I was in Mexico for the U.S. men's national team versus Mexico qualifier at the Azteca, and he came in and
heard of that place.
Yeah, but he came in and just had an impressive run against the defense of the Mexico.
Was that the one? If that's the one I'm thinking of, I was at my wife's grandparents' house watching that match. That's the one where he dribbled through 8 different Mexico national team players.
That was the one.
That was a thing of beauty.
If he'd have scored, the U.S. men's national U.S. team would have U.S. fans would have just collapsed that stadium. They would have lost it. But it speaks to the talent that he has. But like you said, he hasn't been able to put it all together, and it's between the years for him. And if he can shake off that, that entitlement, I guess, for lack of a better term, he'll really become not just a good player for Borussia Dortmund, wherever he plays for in the future, but certainly the U.S. men's national team with a pivotal World Cup coming up 2026. Yeah,
and like I said, to me, Gio Reyna, the equal sign and then the word after that or words need to be locked in.
Yeah.
Period. It just needs to be, you've got the talent. You just got to get your head screwed on straight and go focus. And you could be a locked in starter come next year. I'm not talking about maybe being on the roster. You be a locked in starter, but it's not been consistent.
Yeah. So we got about 50 minutes to go, and kickoff is coming up about an hour and 50 minutes away. So we'll stick with you for the next 15 minutes here. But if you're watching at home or watching wherever you are, definitely get in the chat.
Yep,
Definitely get in the chat and let us know what you think of the match. I see Dan, you're in here. Really appreciate it. But if anybody else is watching, let us know. Let us know where you're watching from.
Absolutely.
Let us know. So it's been a bit too early for predictions. I mean, we still have like 13 minutes to go. But,
Yeah. I think I see most of the fans are trickling over now that the rain has fully stopped.
I see a lot of Mexican green over there.
Yep.
Still don't see a ton of black and yellow.
I see one Dortmund fan.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, maybe 4.
Oh, there's a smattering of them. I see some yellow out there, unless. Yeah, I see a couple of fans out there.
I really wanted them to travel well because I wanted to see like their version of the the yellow wall.
Yeah.
And but I just don't know that you're going to see that outside of Europe. But it would have been cool.
Do we see like any smoke bombs from the Monterrey fans tonight?
I hope so. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be the one to say that out loud, but I hope we see it.
Cruz Azul certainly brought their
Cruz Azul was off the chain.
Press box for Leeds Cup, not long ago. So, what if? Let me ask you this. He kind of put this on X, but I kind of want you to talk about it a little bit more. What is your impression overall of the Club World Cup in 2025? It will have its critics, of course, the weather, the quality of opponents that MLS has fielded, the fact there are no MLS teams remaining. What have you made of the tournament thus far? And what improvements can FIFA make in 2029?
Okay, so I think the tournament itself has been everything I wanted it to be in terms of what you're getting out of the matches themselves. And what I mean by that is the same feeling I get when I watch the Open Cup, when I see, El Farolito or somebody playing, NYCFC or whatever. It's fun to see the Mamelodi Sundowns of the world, or the Ulsans, like these teams that were in the tournament that, they know that the chances of them making it anywhere in this tournament are very slim to none. But you see the heart, and you see this opportunity for them to go play against a team that they're probably not going to get to play again for years, decades maybe. And I love that about this tournament. And I think the other side of that is there's this story that's, it's the clickbait thing, right? It's the big name outlets of the world are always going to make it about the attendance. And I think that's horse crap.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, I think, look, it's a story. Yeah. But you talking about beating a dead horse, man. Like, look, when you, it doesn't matter how nice of a stadium you have, and this is one of the nicest ones in the world. Right. If you put a game at 3:00 on a Monday, don't expect many people to show up. Yeah. Right. Like, and then when you have, 2 unknown teams playing in Orlando, Florida, again, at a terrible time. Yeah. Before people get off work on a weekday, don't expect many people to show up. But then the outlets that then take it and go, oh, well, look at how much of a failure this tournament was. That's garbage. And I can't stand the negativity behind it. I think, So then that leads into what you asked about, what would I change? I think the advertising needs to be a lot better. Yeah. The advertising going into, and it's not just the Club World Cup, but anything that FIFA does, like the World Cup itself, it's going to advertise itself. Sure. You don't have to worry about that. Sure. But any other tournament that FIFA wants to put on and push, the advertising has to be there. And you saw it a little bit. Like, look, here in Atlanta, you have billboards as an outlet, the small outlet doing our little part. Yeah. They were reaching out to us about different stories and things, and we try to push out as much as we can. But like the big, the Foxes and CNNs and MSNs and like those guys, it gets glossed over. Yeah. And I think FIFA needs to figure out a way to kind of get it more into the mainstream. Yeah. And if they can do that, then I think it'll continue to grow as a tournament. You mentioned fun.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the smaller clubs. I don't know if you saw the video of the Auckland City player and the teacher who was being welcomed, heroes welcome at his school by his students. So that's one of the fun stories of the tournament. And then Al Hilal, That's another obviously big story, producing probably one of the memes of the tournament. I'm sure
Absolutely,
you've
yes.
seen
Yeah.
the guy with the
The guy
glasses.
choking himself in his glasses.
And one of the celebrations of the tournament as well.
100%.
So definitely stories like that. South American fans have really made themselves known all throughout the tournament as well. The fan support that they have brought for some of the teams, some of their representatives in the tournament, certainly Brazil, among that. But I think to your point about scheduling, I think FIFA would do very well to think through what is the best way to schedule these, like prime time. I mean, obviously the United States is a big country. You can't accommodate every single fan. If you have a match at 7 p.m. Eastern time, that's 4 p.m. Pacific time. Same thing. If you have a match at 7 p.m.,
that's midnight,
Pacific.
In England and
yeah, exactly.
Portugal.
And that's another point. That's another good point. You're not just dealing with American fans. You're dealing with the entire world, and certainly England, like you mentioned, Europe. So sort of a give and take between those two factors that you have to think about. But there has to be kind of a happy medium where maybe you're inconveniencing maybe a few fans, but still you're certainly giving more visibility to this tournament. I think in terms of promotion, that's certainly a good point. I saw someone, kind of, it's a joking tweet. Well, not joking tweet, but kind of a tweet about some of the Instagram promotions that FIFA has done. I think with the Rizzler, that kid, I forgot his name.
Yeah, and Boca Negra was in there.
Yeah, Carlos Boca Negra was part of that. That was funny to watch. But sort of promotion like that, I mean, it's fun, it's goofy, but it kind of feeds the narrative about the United States, and they don't take soccer seriously.
Yeah.
So maybe some more sophisticated, some more targeted advertising as far as promotion is concerned, maybe is in order for 2029. And certainly maybe the teams you bring in, certainly from MLS, we talked about the spending against MLS, MLS having no teams in the tournament. No one thought they were going to win, but the conversation has arisen. What does MLS need to do to elevate itself to one of the larger leagues in the world? So definitely is credence to that, but sort of a crawl, walk, run situation as far as spending, as far as setting yourself up for success, further success in the tournament if you're MLS. So those are sort of the factors I'm looking for in. I feel like there's obviously going to be changes in 2029. What those changes will be is, down the road.
Yeah, and you're not going to make everybody happy. We know this. That's just part of it. Ultimately, though, I think there was a happy medium here that could have been found, and maybe it wasn't. But I also think that a lot of these larger outlets took the story of the attendance and made it way worse than it should have been. And I think that's sad. Like, you're the same people that want to claim that you want to grow the sport in this country, and yet one of the biggest tournaments in the country's history comes here, and all you do is dunk on it. And it's like, hey, man, look, if you want a job talking about soccer, maybe let's not dump on it every single chance we get.
Yeah. I think it's low-hanging fruit for a lot of outlets. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a perfect tournament, but
but I've enjoyed it, though.
Some good moments.
As a soccer fan, I've loved it. I just think it's fun to see. The storylines, you talk about Auckland City, Al Hilal beating Man City is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, for them, that's like winning the Club World Cup. I mean, you just beat one of the best teams literally in the world.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I love that kind of thing. I love the cup set kind of situation, and I want to see more of it.
Zelf, our good friend Zelf, thanks for watching. Zelf saying in the chat,
Zelf, what's up, buddy?
No more player walkout. What do you think of the player walkout?
Real, that has been the worst.
Just have it traditionally. Just walk everybody out at the same time, right?
And I mean, being in person, listening to them walk out, I'm like, hey man, let's get the show on the road.
It's like an NBA.
Yeah, it's so bad, man. I got 22 players I got to go through, and plus a coach. Let's just get this game started. Yeah, I agree. Like, if there's one thing I could change, that's it. 100% Self. I agree with you.
Yeah. Want to do predictions?
I'll raise a glass to that. Predictions.
Yeah. You go first.
I'm going to say 2-2 in extra time, goes to penalties, and I think Monterrey wins at 5-4.
Okay. Monterrey pulling off maybe the upset.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like it go in extra time. I think we'll have a win. I think I said earlier penalties. I'm kind of backtracking on that. I think it will go into extra time, but I think we will see a winner emerge in extra time. I'm going to say 3-2.
Hey, let's go.
Borussia Dortmund.
Okay.
3-2 Borussia Dortmund.
Okay.
I think there will be goals in it. Maybe a few more goals than some people expect, but I think Borussia Dortmund will pull ahead and get the edge in this one and set up a very appealing matchup against Real Madrid coming up here in the next few days.
If this game has 4+ goals in it, I don't care how it plays out. I am happy. I am so happy because I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I mean, we were here for the Miami PSG debacle the other day, and it was like, all right, dude, like this is just there's a massive gap
over by
in
half
class.
time.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. But no, I mean, I think this will be a little more balanced, and I think it'll be fun to watch. If you're a neutral, I think this will be an enjoyable game.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I expect fun. That's what I expect.
Fun. Yes, I want fun. I don't want chaos. I want some chaos. So, all right. Any final thoughts?
I wish we had a chaos counter. The number of times you said chaos.
yeah. It's got to be at least 15 by this point.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm just gonna go and enjoy the match. You know, certainly if you're neutral watching, I feel like you're gonna get a lot of entertainment value out of this. Now, as I say this, watch it be like 0-0 all the way up to penalties.
Please don't.
Like that with
knock on wood.
2 shots on goal between the two sides. Something like that. But I think if you're neutral, my gut feeling is you're going to come away pretty satisfied with what you see tonight between these two teams. I feel like Borussia Dortmund is kind of the betting favorite going in, but I feel like Monterrey certainly have something to say on their end. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch how this plays out.
Yeah, and again, Sergio Ramos, always an X factor, so we'll see. But with that being said, look, a lot of our folks that were here when we started, they are now over in the Benz. We are about a little over an hour from kickoff. So everybody else here in the bar, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We are the Scarves and Spikes podcast, covering pretty much anything in Atlanta related to soccer, especially Atlanta United. But now that Atlanta is the home of the U.S. Soccer Federation, we are a little busier than we were. So we appreciate you guys watching at home as well. If you're not following us, make sure you go subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We truly, truly appreciate it. And
smash
with that,
the like.
smash that like button. And we